watching for wild weather in the sky and beyond these days. Solar storms can affect everything from telecommunications to the degree in which we see northern lights. Astronomer Tim Jaworski joins us now to tell us how it works and how we could be impacted by it. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, Chris.
So I'd like to run down the list of ways in which we could notice solar storms, but why don't we start with just a little bit of an explainer on this space phenomenon. What exactly are solar storms? What's happening out there?
Well, the sun itself actually has weather patterns. Not a lot of people pay attention to them, at least the average person doesn't. And what's interesting about the sun is it goes through an 11-year cycle, where it goes through very little activity to a lot of storm activity. And about a year ago, we entered into a new solar cycle. So what we're seeing is a ramping up of activity on the sun, specifically storms and what are known as CMEs, or coronal mass ejections, where the sun basically ejects radiation from the surface, kind of like water bubbling on a boiling pot.
Huh. That's a really cool explanation. Watching it on the screen there, it's amazing to see that happen. What sort of impact could these things have on our day-to-day life in terms of ability to disrupt communications, for example?
Well, for the most part, they really don't have a lot of effect on us, but occasionally you'll run into ones that are storms that are actually particularly intense in their outburst. In fact, on the 22nd, the observers had actually observed a series of 10 outbursts, much more activity than what we're used to seeing. And the biggest thing that came out of that one was there were some radio astronomers who were listening in, which is what they do, and they're listening into what's going on in the atmosphere. And it was actually created an outburst that was so loud that it drowned out activity that they were getting from lightning storms in the area, which is actually quite incredible. But for the really sort of the day-to-day person going through their life, really doesn't notice a lot of difference. You might see a little bit of some static on your radio that you're not used to. But we have seen some situations, in fact, not that long ago, in 1989 in Quebec, where a solar storm that hit the Earth's atmosphere completely wiped out the power grid for over a day, pulling down the entire infrastructure of power in Quebec.
Wow. Okay. So first of all, I guess let's talk about Northern Lights. We only have about 45 seconds left. This will have an impact on Northern Lights, but I also want to know, how long could this whole phenomenon last?
Well, basically, it's going to be peaking at about 2025 and then starting to taper down. So for the next few years, the main thing we're going to see is definitely some increases in Northern Light activity.
All right, and I'm going to steal a little time here. We have clouds, high glowing clouds that you wanted to get in just before we wrap up. What exactly is that?
Yeah, if you take a look at noctilucent clouds, it happens usually about 90 minutes after sunset or before sunrise. Take a look, and even from the city, and they're glowing, almost incandescent clouds. And we're right now in that NLC season.
Well, I learn something new every time we chat. Tim, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate your time and joining us today.
Always a pleasure. Take care and clear skies.